So I will bite my tongue, tame these emotions.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for another episode, No Small Podcast. We are a multitude of
Gratitude.
We are a multitude of episodes in now. So,
Egregious Philbin.
oh my gosh. Y'all are just,
Who wants to be a millionaire?
I don't think I can. Anyways, so today about they, and I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did, so you're welcome. So,
They who?
they, the people, I don't know. So I guess we can maybe jump into this episode just talking, maybe just start with the music, because this is a song that JT wrote. Musical. Brandon, you don't remember that?
Okay. Brandon doesn't remember it, but I do.
Jake,
Yeah.
I was just going to show them. So
Yeah.
Josh plays guitar left-handed, but he doesn't play a left-handed acoustic guitar. So he actually turns it upside down and plays some kind of weird way. I'm not really sure, but so how long had you had this little chord progression?
Yeah. So the chord progression it had been floating around for like a couple of months. I don't know. It was a really melancholy kind of riff.
This was your bass chord thing that you?
No, this
Oh,
was
okay.
I wrote like a full song on the acoustic, and yeah, that thing will never see the light of day because it's not worth it. But Sean was able to extract some pieces from that, and we
really kind of pretty much kept it with no changes. So we write a lot of stuff in like an E minor chord structure with like this kind of C chord that you can't really see, and like this kind of D chord, E. So Josh it was like pretty slow. I'm pretty sure this is it. This is how it started out. It was like really slow. So yeah.
That's what you played it on the acoustic set we did. That makes more sense now.
Yeah, so if we were ever to do an acoustic version of the song, that might show up. But
so when JT originally showed that to me, like we had a completely different melody, and we were really kind of thinking it to be an anthemic song that like, what is that cat doing?
Leave now, kitty meow meow.
So next week we're going to talk about Learn, which became the song that is about community. But originally JT and I were kind of thinking that the song They, because we were thinking about the word they and what it could mean, that would be a song, that this would be the song about community. And we kind of originally had it as like something like anthemic that actually, like if we ever did it live, that maybe JT would just come out, play the acoustic behind me singing it. And so that's kind of the way that we ran with it for a long time. We actually demoed it in that BPM, that slow. And I remember trying, I could never get a chorus. The chorus was what I was always trying to get with that song. I could never get something like good about. And I remember just kind of playing with those, that C, E minor, D chord progression. And I kind of had that melody, that da 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 da, and which became the original, the melody, that you hear now for They. And but what I realized was playing it in the BPM that we wrote the whole song. Like Waltman had like an entire like epic, and we'll talk about like a musical. One of the musical influences was Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and so like that really big anthemic guitar work at the end of Iris, and so we kind of gave that idea to Waltman and had him run with it, and he did this big epic thing. But when I kind of played that chorus melody over top of it, it didn't work because the chorus melody I had was way too fast for everything else that we were doing. But it was such a catchy little melody that we ended up upping the BPM of the song by 20 BPMs. So it was pretty slow, and then
that was in West Virginia, wasn't it?
It was before that, but we didn't demo it that way until we went to West Virginia. I'm pretty sure. And so we actually everything in the beginning of the song, those chord progressions worked at that BPM, but nothing that Waltman did really worked with that BPM. And so we had to. We actually left West Virginia not even having figured that out. But I kind of had the idea of like that type of kind of Foo Fighters type of deal at the end of the song, and we kind of like hammered out that rhythm. I remember riding in the van back from our session up there, and we kind of hammered that rhythm out and was like, okay, let's have Waltman try it like this. And that's kind of how we arrived at that.
I was really nervous about that because when we left West Virginia, it was pretty much agreed upon that like the music wasn't changing. And like as we were driving back, as we were driving back, we were like, this has got to change. Like, yep, we got to fix this. Who wants to make that call?
Saying, like, given our track record of like either completely scrapping songs or like drastically changing them, it's not that bad to have done that with like literally one song out of
and part of one song. It was just the ending of the song. Yeah.
It's
actually it was a bridge, but it wasn't a song bridge.
Yeah. You know, I remember like growing up, like trying to build things as a kid, right? And I get so frustrated because, and I think this is probably the obstacle or the hurdle that a lot of artists face, is that I knew in my mind what I wanted to build and what I wanted it to look like, or in the music world, what I want it to sound like, but having the right tools or the right knowledge or the right skill set to get it from where, where it's at to where your mind wants it to be. And that just takes time. It takes time. It takes collaboration. It takes skill. And it does take, the right equipment. It's just like in the recording process, you gotta have some good mics and good equipment, but just as important of that is you've got to have a good artist. And not only that, you got to have a good performance. And so all of those things make something magical, right? And without some of those things, it's a lot harder to arrive at that. So
yeah. For me, when you guys sort of laid down, because my piece was the last piece to come in as far as instrumentation goes. I really just thought it needed a hook. It needed a hook. And what was really funny about it was with the rhythm and everything that you guys came up with, it sounded like Foo Fighters. It really sounded, and I was like, wow, I don't want to take away from the Foo Fighters thing. But like when I added the hook or whatever, it kind of made it more sound like us mixed with Foo Fighters, which I thought was cool because like if we had a straight Foo Fighters song on the record, I don't know that it would fit as well with some of the other things that we're doing on the record, just as far as making it all be cohesive. But for me, like it already had some really catchy rhythm. It already had some really catchy melodies for the verse, and with Sean, his idea with the Iris, like acoustic guitar thing, that break right there before the chorus, all of that made it super catchy and memorable. It just needed that extra melodic hook in the song, like to make it a little bit more interesting musically. And so that was sort of how I looked at it, as like, it's Foo Fighters, but we want to make it sound like us mixed with Foo Fighters. So I think it's probably
Foo Fighters.
I think it's my favorite.
Fighters.
Nice. It's my favorite song on the record.
Yeah,
Aw.
I really liked that verse melody, that first verse line. I think you had kind of given me, because that was something we wrote in West Virginia, and that's the kind of magical things that I like on this record, is that like a lot of these melodies really weren't like hard thought out. I just stood in front of a microphone and started singing stuff that that just felt good. And then I would arrive at something and then maybe change a note and say, okay, I like that. And I just remember, you giving me a couple words to work with, and we got to this, here we go again, this time talking like ships passing in the night. And I just really liked that melody and how that flowed. That was the same deal, when we get to keep, we'll talk about it there. That same type of deal, completely rearranging the song and the melodies, getting that. I mean, so me personally, some musical influences on this and what we tried to arrive at, both this song, and we actually had to drop this song a whole key from where it was originally. So I play this on the baritone, in A standard. And so, the song is actually in A minor. And so, like with When and with this song, really vocally, I was aiming for a lot of seosin, like pretty much off the self-titled record. I know that I listened to JT and I listened to Voices for that. We talked about Foo Fighters. What you said Everlong, right? That was one of the influences for that. Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, I love this. This is how weird this song is, right? We took Seosin, Foo Fighters, and Goo Goo Dolls.
I thought there was a movement song for this.
Was it?
Not this.
Not
I thought it was I could have sworn there was another movement song, that not the one that you're thinking of.
On
I
here,
thought there was one.
Manchester Orchestra. Do you want
Yeah. I mean, like when so I guess the acoustic version of the song was really influenced by "Leave It Alone" by Manchester Orchestra, especially that big moment at the end of that song. I guess I'd kind of written something similar, but not copying it verbatim. So it's just weird how like incrementally, like it started as an acoustic thing, and then like we were able to make all these changes, and so it's such a weird conglomeration of musical influences that I don't think anybody would be able to pick out had we not said anything about it.
Yeah. I think I'm not putting words in Waltman's mouth on this, but I think a lot of the reasons why that this is one of Waltman's favorite songs is because he wrote all the words.
It's true.
And I think that this song is one of the most personal for us, and I think probably for Waltman and I especially, because this is a song about conflict, and this wasn't our looking out in the world and seeing conflict going on, but this was specifically conflict within our group, within our family. And I personally don't like to converse. Anybody that's conversed with me over like text, whether that be text messaging or iMessage or Facebook Messenger, or whatnot, knows that I don't really like to do that. I'd rather talk on the phone, because so many times what we type out, and I'm sure no one's experienced this, but what we type out, the words that we're trying to convey, or what we're trying to say gets misinterpreted. Because I mean, one of the biggest things that is missing within that medium of communication is body language. We don't, or, vocal inflection, right? I mean, we don't realize how much that,
There's emojis, but
yeah, emotions. Yeah. I mean,
emojis.
oh my gosh.
Emojis.
We don't really like realize how big those things play into how we interpret or how we take what someone's saying. And Waltman, I think you pretty much just were sitting there and kind of wrote this chorus, and I don't think we really changed anything from what Waltman does not. I mean, you sing, but you don't like sing, and when you write something, you're not. Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. When you write things like a chorus, you don't typically write it as knowing how it's going to really be sung.
Yeah, no, I write things like a theologian, and then obviously that can't be sung at all because it's like you can't sing perichoretic triune relationship. No, I'm just saying, I sort of think in terms of, formulating a sentence because I'm not a singer. And so a lot of times I'll write things that you have to translate into a melody that's singable.
It was almost startling how fast you wrote the chorus, though, because we sat down to do this song. And, every song that we did, we started with the chorus.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like sat down, you wrote something, and you read it out loud. And we're like,
yeah. So
okay,
Sean was sort of hinting around the syllables. Like, I don't know if any of you guys out there that write songs do this, but sometimes when you're trying to figure out a chorus or, a melody or whatever, you're just kind of singing syllables. So Sean was doing that as you guys played through, and I don't know why, it just hit me. So I set down my guitar and pulled out my notebook and just literally just as y'all played the song, like I wrote the chorus. And it was, so in my mind, when I thought about it, I thought about they meaning not a person, but they meaning words. Those words, them, those stupid words that keep getting in our way when we're trying to converse. So the they of the song is not a person. It's actually these words. And it was exactly what Sean and I are always back and forth on, between him and me, like making assumptions about what each other, what we mean when we use specific words. And yeah, exactly. Words. Yeah. No, I mean, but it's right. Like, over and over again, I don't know if you ever noticed this. If you're in arguments with people, sometimes you're using the same word, but you mean something completely different by that word. And so you don't take the time to stop and back up and define your terms and define your words. And because of that, you just talk past one another. Like you just, because you may have a completely different intention. You might be assuming a different aim, if you will. But that may not be the intention at all. And if you don't stop and clarify those terms, then the message is going to be lost. And so I literally sat down. I was like, man, it would be super cool and catchy if we repeated a word in the chorus, because that's sort of a pop thing to do. And the inspiration for the song was Iris. So I was like, well, let's be poppy then. And so I just pinned it out and said exactly what, in a simple way, like exactly what has frustrated me when it comes to words. And that's what came out.
Yeah. And I don't care what you have on your pedal board, but if we're ever being filmed playing this song and it starts to pour the rain on us, and
Yeah.
you're going to go for it and you're not going to stop because we're going to have that epic.
Right. You can be Johnny Resnick forever.
Yeah.
I'll be the weird bass guy.
So I think the most ironic part about all of this with the communication and saying, not understanding what each other is saying. One of my favorite parts of this song comes in the second verse. At the end of that second verse, where we get a little bit heavier right before the chorus. Do you remember, Brandon? Do you remember why that happened?
I don't remember if it was me or if it was Sean that.
So, like Sean talked about earlier, what did Sean talk about earlier? Just like that, it escaped me. Uh, oh, right. Learn, and they. We weren't entirely sure which one was going to be like the big anthemic, like community group song or whatever, and so Brandon went into this song thinking that it was going to be this like community song, and so he
I do remember that.
he insisted that we put that part, that heavy part of verse 2 into the song, all because he didn't realize which song we were doing, because we had not communicated that.
And it was
Yeah,
part
but then Sean ran with it.
Well, yeah, because
Right.
I really liked how it like threw back to that 90s, early 2000s kind of like it kind of was like a punk feel, like a something like that. And I was like, because it changed up, because we're going da, 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 like the beats on the snares on 3, right? And it kind of just switched into this kick and snare 2 and 4 type thing. And I really, 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 really liked how that felt. And I really liked how it sounded when I like threw on that, like I kicked in my Fission drive for that part, and it just made it like super heavy and big, and just felt like really punk. And and we don't do that. It was just I love little things that only happen once in the song, and not where you expect them to happen. And so that was like one of those parts. It's not a pre-chorus. It's just kind of this ending of verse 2. It's like its own little part. I don't even really know what to call it. But yeah, I love that. And that was Brandino's idea. He has some goal. But I mean, and then too, like that's just that's the importance of collaboration. Like when you don't collaborate with people and you don't bring, I mean, you can't bring the whole world in on your ideas, because then you'll never actually finish a song. But I mean, you know, I'll just throw this out there. If you have songs that you're writing by yourself, you don't have any bandmates or anything like that, and you get stuck on parts, bring in people that you like. Like I know a couple of you guys out there have been writing your own music and bringing in other artists to come in and collaborate and do stuff, and it just makes for really good art, really good music. So
Also, watch Songland.
yeah, watch a lot of Songland. But yeah, so I mean, I really dig this song a lot. I really like the meaning of the song. Verse 2 is probably written about me, Waltman's frustration with me in his words.
And you have to sing it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. But with Josh and I, Josh is very intellectual, and I'm not.
Don't say that.
So, but no, I mean, but the way that you approach conflict is in more of a debate kind of way, not like lording your intelligence over people, but like, hey, we're going to hash this out, and sometimes I think I just want to win more than I actually want to have a conversation. And I don't necessarily mean that, but in that moment of frustration, and I think it just goes around with any relationship and any communication. Sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, but you get to the point where like you'd rather just win than be right or wrong. And for me, I've got to learn to take a step back. And it doesn't, I mean, we still get it wrong. We just have to, when we move forward, when we find ourselves in those places of conflict, we have to remember these words, remember this chorus. And I think this chorus is really just more for the four of us, specifically Josh and I, in those times of, all right, don't say the same words like the last time. Don't assume my aim. Don't distort the words I say. Don't walk away in anger, right?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I mean, I think one of the things that I really took away from this record, one, 2019 was a tough year for me, and this record really helped me, like, I don't know, just the process of this record really like helped me get through that and get over that. But like, through this record, I feel like we've learned to communicate better, because like we were forced in a sense to address the way that we communicate, because that's literally what the record is about, like, so
Yeah.
to be in that, we really had to look, it had to speak to us as much as it can speak to
Well,
other
that's what
people.
I love about this record. The theme of this record is because all these songs are introspective. I mean, they're about us. I mean, there are things that we're dealing with within ourselves or within our family. I mean, not really. There's not really a song on this record that is really external, about the world. There are a few, but a lot of the stuff just comes from just personal, within us. But I love how, the themes speak speak greater than our internal conversations, our internal conflicts, our internal struggles.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I
they're
think,
really,
sorry.
I'm just saying they're really transcendent.
Yeah, I was going to agree. I mean, look, here's the thing. Everybody communicates differently. I'm a little bit more analytical when it comes to conflict. Other people are more emotional. Other people are more, sometimes are more, like I say emotional, but like touchy feely. I'm super analytical. There's different ways to handle conflict and conversations. Um, that's a theme that can be applied to any conversation. Anytime that there's a difference of opinion, anytime that there's differences in what you're trying to say, and realizing, hey, like, let me not assume the worst of what the other person is saying. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt until they give you a reason not to. And remember, like, what's the goal of that conversation? If the goal, like Sean was saying, if the goal is just to win a debate, like, I don't know that that's but so fruitful in almost any conversation. I mean, even on a debate stage, like, I'd much rather win the person, and if I was going to win the debate, I'd rather win the debate such that I won the person too, to demonstrate that I care about the other person, even if I won, right? um, so not to spiritualize this, but that's super true. And in any sort of conversation that we have as a church between believers, there's doctrinal differences, and there's social differences, and everybody has an opinion on different things, but not assuming the worst of what the other person is saying, and trying to define terms and be precise with your language, and making sure that you understand exactly what each other is saying, before you fly off the wall in anger. Man, that's good for almost every situation, not just the conflict that we have as a band.
Yeah, I remember hearing a message about 1 Corinthians 13 about love, is that love hopes all things, love believes all things. And it's, we kind of really glance over that, but really, and I'll use the analogy of, a husband coming home late from work, right? The his wife can either believe the best or assume the worst.
Jake from State Farm.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is love believes all things, and love hopes hopes in all things. And so, I think that's where we gotta start. When we start with that, um, I think that we can accomplish things. Um, so I guess we'll end with this. We we ended up kind of picking this as one of the singles, for the record. So we did. This is actually the one that we did, like, the, I won't say legit music video for, but we did like the full band kind of music video, deal. and we really we did that ourselves. In case you did not know, in case it wasn't obvious. But I've had to train my wife to do videography, and don't give me that look.
Don't say
That's
you
a
had to
weird way
train
to
your
phrase
wife.
it.
Well, I'm just saying like how to set the camera up and things like that. But the cool thing is my wife has taken some of our pictures. She's not. I mean, the thing is, she didn't go to school for that or anything. You know, but she's kind of has an eye
No,
for
you're totally fine. I was just giving you a hard time. Sorry, Tiffany.
um for like shots that work and things like that. So I really bounce a lot of my musical ideas off of her. I bounce most everything creatively off of her, and she gives me her opinion. And most times I just do what she says. Um, but we were talking about this video, and we wanted to set up this. We wanted to show this conflict, and so we had some good friends of ours come in and assist us on that video. And I don't know. We were trying to figure out how to even do this video. Um, and I think it was JT. We watched like kind of those one shot videos. It wasn't even going to be a one shot video at all. It turned into a one shot video like 3 days before we were going to shoot the video. Like we had everything like kind of planned out what we wanted. And then I don't know. That's me. That was my fault. Like JT was like, "Hey, look at this." I can't remember. It was Me Without You, the Me Without You video, and I was like, "Man, that's kind of cool. Like we could do that." Or who was it? What was the other one that happened at Glow in the Dark?
Oh, the chariot.
David De La Haas by the Chariot.
Yeah, and I was like, "Ah, that's
I
cool."
love that video, dude.
It was never going to be like this. Okay go type video where like crazy stuff happens, but
Kind
like
of like the treadmills.
yeah, just well, I mean, we should do a video with treadmills because I would just like to see you, Brandon, fall off the treadmill during the
And get like a big burn mark across my
you,
face from the
get a
treadmill.
you get a hematoma on the side of your head.
Treads.
Tread marks. Um, but yeah, so like 2 or 3 days before the video, we decided it was going to be a one shot, and so Josh and I got in there and we were like, all right, how does it need to work? Like, how are we going to get people in? And I remember like writing it up like on a whiteboard, like all these different movements, these X's and arrows, and it really looked like football plays. And anybody that was there, you can attest to this, how stupid that looked. And like, it was like no one understood that until we just,
Please
Well,
leave
we
a
brought
comment.
everybody in and we were like, hey, here's what we're going to do. They didn't really, the people who came, they
know
didn't.
what they were doing. They didn't know what they were getting into.
Hey,
Well,
so
I mean, they didn't know what they were really like signing up for. So we're like, here, have some pizza and have some stuff. And by the way, while you're eating this, watch this football play that we're about to execute in about 30
Yeah.
minutes.
And they
shout
had,
out to the Facebook family. Thank you guys for coming out. So a
Yeah.
lot of those
Yeah.
guys
Yeah,
are
for real.
people from
We could not have
Kansas
done that
City.
video without everybody that showed up.
they were just those guys were so super talented at just like knowing what we were like. We just like this video, like I'm having a hard time explaining, what is in my mind, what I'm seeing, but they really kind of got it and like they didn't even know the song. They hadn't even heard the song. And so we like put it on a speaker, let them listen to it like 2 or 3 times.
That was only once.
Well, we did it like 2 or 3 times. I remember that. And then, had them execute these grandiose plans that we halfway even knew what they were. But I mean, I think it turned out, I mean, we do, like I said, we do a lot of stuff ourselves. We record the stuff ourselves. We do most of the video ourselves. And, it's not without a team collaboration. So thank you guys for being that we're in that video, for being a part of that. You really made it what it was. And thank you guys for listening to us ramble about our songs. And check back with us next week as we talk about community and what it means to be a part of a community. And there might be some wisdom in being a part of a community, some truth in love, maybe,
Yeah.
some on truth in love. So anyways, anything you guys want to say before we head out?
I think the last 11 words of the song are super key. They kind of turned into a joke, but like seriously, that was kind of the motto.
I
of
actually
the
thought it was a joke. I was like, no, that it's not. You can't just end by saying something like that. And then he did it, and I was like, oh.
That was what we like. That was just a note on that song for a long time. Like just within our notes on this, on the ideas of the song, was how can we agree if our words don't mean the same?
Yeah, I remember us like getting into debates or like disagreeing during the entire writing process, and it was always like, how can we agree if our words don't mean the same thing? I think the group chat was named that for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we put
But
it. Does it make sense?
yeah. So now that we've aired our dirty laundry, I guess it's worth saying that I guess we're breaking up. So there you go.
Wow.
That's it.
We out.
Deuces.